things are cliche for a reason because people keep talking about it. And when people keep talking about it, there's usually a good story to tell behind it.
I lived and dreamed about being a nurse till I died. And if I wasn't that, who was I? Who was Sarah if she wasn't Sarah the nurse? Because a lot of us tie our self-worth and our who we are, we tie that to the job that we do.
Is this idea that when you do bottle it up, when you do suppress your authentic self, it does turn into typically some sort of psychosomatic illness, some sort of response that is both either literally physical or psychological. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
So I think come back into yourself and ask yourself, what do I really want to do? And how can I do that? And we can just take baby steps initially to work towards something that we want. So it was a side step because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was only as I started to feel better, I realized what I'd done in myself, that I started to write about it.
Authenticity is a huge buzzword today and has been actually for quite a few years. But the reason it's a buzzword is because it's real, because it's true, because it matters. Things are cliche for a reason because people keep talking about it. And when people keep talking about it, there's usually a good story to tell behind it. And that's why we have Sarah here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shauna, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so thrilled to hear your story. I know I've only gotten the Coles notes or the Cliff notes so far, but I want to hear more of it, and I know that our audience needs to hear it. So tell us a little about yourself.
So I always wanted to be a nurse. My mum was a nurse. I went into nursing, and within a couple of years of qualifying, somebody challenged my beliefs around taking pharmaceuticals at home, which for me was totally normal. That's how I was raised. So I set off on a journey doing lots of research into pharmaceuticals, what they do, what they don't do, plus the power of the body, power of the mind. And I ended up tweaking my diet and lifestyle and healing acid reflux, psoriasis, and eczema within about a month. So I then started thinking, well, if I can heal these little things, what about other things like chronic pain, candida, bulimia, PTSD? So I went on and healed all of those. And eventually I spiraled into a deep, dark depression with suicidal thoughts. And looking back, I had to go through that to get to where I am now. But I see that as my body saying, Sarah, what are you doing? I hear you want to care for people, you want to help vulnerable people, but you're keeping them stuck in that medical system. You're keeping them on pharmaceuticals and on treatments. And here you are healing yourself at home and not using pharmaceuticals. So I had a huge battle going on in my mind about who I was authentically, because I lived and dreamed about being a nurse till I died. And if I wasn't that, who was I? Who was Sarah if she wasn't Sarah the nurse? Because a lot of us tie our self-worth and our who we are, we tie that to the job that we do. And we're not the job that we do. We are who we are authentically inside ourselves. And quite often we lose touch with that because we say things that people want to hear. We dress the way people want us to dress. We take on board what other people say to us and how they want us to behave. And we do that because we want to fit in. We want to be liked. And that was me all along, a people pleaser, feeling the need to be liked, hated the thought that somebody might not like me. Oh my gosh, what could I do to make this person like me? So I was about as far away from my true authentic self as I possibly could be. And it wasn't until I went through that dark, dark depression for 3 years, with suicidal thoughts for a part of that, that I had to come back into myself, because I made myself a recluse. I didn't want to speak to anybody. I was not receptive to family reaching in to try and help me. But I had to walk the dog, so I had to get outside. And that was part of my recovery, the walking. And during that time, for the first year or so, maybe I just don't know, it was just dark. Every day was dark. I barely ate or drank through the day, but as my children came home from school and husband from work, my mind went, oh, you need to go and cook a meal now. You need to go and make some drinks now. You need to, do whatever and be who you're meant to be. But outside of that, I just sat at home in a really dark space. And as I started healing, I started realizing that, yes, I want to help people. I want to help people to help themselves. I want to help people to not rely on other people. And in knowing what I'd done to heal myself, I wanted to help them to understand, to heal themselves. Because a lot of what we suffer is our lack of authenticity. We're too frightened to say something, or we're too worried what people will think about how we dress or how we look. So we bury our authenticity to keep putting that smile on our face and fit in with the people who are around us, fearing the loss if we act as who we are.
I think that's a really important point that I'm sure people have experienced and also kind of maybe heard about on the peripherals, is this idea that when you do bottle it up, when you do suppress your authentic self, it does turn into typically some sort of psychosomatic illness, some sort of response that is both either literally physical or psychological. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But it's difficult to navigate a world that has these presumed expectations about you and who you ought to be. This ripples out to everything. It ripples out to your identity as a nurse, as a healing person, as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner. And then all the things you do within those buckets won't work. Like, for lack of a better word, they simply won't work. They won't make you feel fulfilled. They won't help you to achieve your goals, your dreams. They won't give you that sense of being that we deserve as humans, as living entities, rather. And I noticed you said something that I attribute the word cognitive dissonance to. And it's that idea that I want to be this, but I'm also that, and they don't seem to fit. And how do I navigate that space? And for you, unfortunately, it got to the point where, because of the people pleasing, because of the perceived expectations of others, your body told you, sit down, figure this out. But now you're helping others with this. So I'm going to go out on a stretch and say, you've kind of figured out how to address that before you get to the body giving you the big middle finger. So if you're already feeling that sense of cognitive dissonance, you're doing one thing and it's not working, and you feel like you should maybe be doing another thing, but you're feeling that tear. What do you say to that person?
You have to go right deep down inside to understand who you are at your core and what you want to do. Because a lot of people do jobs they hate because they think they ought to, or there's an expectation. And although my mum was a nurse, she didn't make me become a nurse. I wanted to become a nurse because I wanted to help people. And I saw that at that time as a way for me to help people during their vulnerable times. So I think, come back into yourself and ask yourself, what do I really want to do? And how can I do that? And we can just take baby steps initially to work towards something that we want. Not everybody has to do like I did and go into a suicidal depression and then,
Not do that.
and then come out the other side and go, I'm done now. I'm going to leave the hospital and set up my own business. And, that's a massive leap of faith. But it's one that was right for me.
Yeah.
But it's not right for everybody. Some people can do a course on the side, or do some voluntary work, or study, or read the internet, or buy some books. There's lots of different things that we can do to find out what it is that we want and support that, nurture that within us, and it will lead us to a way out.
I remember you telling me a story that I think would be a really great example for people who aren't quite sure, people who are kind of, I don't know, I'm not being torn, like I don't feel like my soul is being ripped out of my body, but I don't know, sometimes feeling uncertain. And the story you told me a while ago was about receiving an award, and about even just something as simple as your attire. Can you tell me about that again? And let's relive that just momentarily, just to show that these feelings, because we've talked about the very extreme circumstances, right? What does this look like just in the day-to-day? Something that you may not recognize as like a little red flag going, hello. You may want to take a step back and just be for a minute. Feel the things. Tell us the story.
So I went to university to learn how to become an entrepreneur, took classes, and they set up an awards day and invited me to go and showcase my business. Had to learn PowerPoint. It was way back then. I'm like, what even is PowerPoint? So anyway, I won an award as a company to watch because they said I made something out of nothing, which was great. So it kind of validated me at that local tiny weeny level that, I was an entrepreneur and I'd done something, and now I've got my first award for doing something. And then the university put me forward for National Freelancers Day in the UK. And I know, right? I'm like, wow. A little award at university is one thing, but going nationally in a massive big thing, I'm like, and at the time I was a drinker. Through those dark days, I took to drinking. And so I had some Dutch courage, and I'm like, what the heck? Let's just fill this form in. It's going to be what it's going to be. Sent it off. And a couple of months later, I got a letter in the post saying, you're a finalist. Come down to London on this day. I'm like, ooh. So of course, my husband was working. My children were at school. It was a weekday. So my mum said she would come down with me because I was still recovering I was still in the depressive episode, but no longer suicidal. So my mum came down with me. And my mum, she's very elegant. She likes the jewelry. She likes the clothes. And there's an expectation that I will look just correct for the correct event. So I felt the need to buy a really nice dress and a jacket and some shoes and a bag. And I was dressing for my mum, who was helping me, in inverted commas, to dress correctly to win an award befitting, of where I was, a business owner. So I went and received this award, and I came second out of the whole of the UK's freelancers that applied, which was amazing. And it totally validated me as an entrepreneur, which helped me lift me further. But it's, at the end of the day, yes, I've stepped away from a hospital. I'm now an entrepreneur, but I had to still maintain my nursing registration because the jobs I was doing, I needed that. Even though I wasn't in the hospital, I had to be a registered nurse. So I was still walking in the registered nurse shoes, but now I was dressing differently in civilian clothes, not a uniform. But they weren't my choice of civilian clothes. They were to fit in air quotes.
Right. And I can imagine, just even in hearing you speak, that award, you're very proud of it and it's wonderful. And there's always that shadow of, yes, but I received it as somebody different. I wasn't actually me when I received it.
Yeah, but I was like an in-between.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to work in a hospital. I still felt conflicted as being a nurse because I had to sign the register every year to say I'm upholding the standards. But yeah, I wasn't using pharmaceuticals, and I was working with people to get them off pharmaceuticals or not use pharmaceuticals. So I still had that conflict going on, but it wasn't as bad because I was no longer in that hospital and I didn't have anything to do with drugs and procedures and doctors. I was working subcontracting for 4 different companies. So it was a sidestep because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was only as I started to feel better, I realized what I'd done in myself, that I started to write about it, and then really truly understood that actually I can help people to help themselves as a coach, and I can surrender my license as a nurse. And that's when I stepped into who I am authentically. I let go of all those posh frocks and the high heels and the shoes and bags, and it's like
Mm.
I became who I am. A bit of a hippie, a gypsy soul,
I love that.
free
I love
spirit.
that. I'm here for it, honestly. Look at me. I got my crazy long hair, and I was wearing a shirt the other day, similar color to this actually, and it says "free spirit," and there was like,
I love it.
what was it? There was a one of those dream catchers. A dream catcher was and I just was like, I wanted to just dance. I was like, yes, let's go. So I'm here for that. If
Yeah,
that and because that's who you are, because that's what you feel, just as much as your mother, if that's how she feels, I'm here for it. Let's go.
yeah,
Let's wear those. Go to the derby and wear the little, what is it? What are they called?
fascinator.
Fascinators. Yes, wear a little fast. Do your thing. Wear the Gucci bag. I don't care. Do your thing as long as
Yes,
it's you. As long as
yes,
it's for you.
yes.
And what I want to do is I want to take just a moment to tell, uh, if somebody's been around my world, they'll may have heard this from me before, but your story is actually a remarkable example of something that I've been kind of preaching about for a long time, longer, since far before COVID. I've been talking about this thing called the two icities, and they are authenticity, which is what we've been talking about,
Yeah,
but also simplicity.
yeah,
And the two icities are really cool because they feed off of each other. It's like the yin and yang kind of, but
yeah,
they're not opposites. They're together, they're partners. Because the more you allow yourself to lean into your authenticity, bit by bit, as you depicted, little bits, you were able to lean into your authentic self. Every time you do that, decisions, life, brain fog, all of that clears away and things become more simple. You start understanding and being able to recognize where you may not have been showing up more authentic and
yeah,
where you don't need to perform, what you can take out of the way to simplify your life, your world, and all of the different aspects. And then guess what happens? You're able to better be more authentic, which makes things simpler. And we just keep doing this dance. And that's, I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the journey that you took.
absolutely. And we live an incredibly simple life here in Spain now. And it's, we are authentically who we are, and we dress as we want and we behave as we want authentically. We do the things, the simple things in life. We love watching the moonrise, we love watching the sunset and going for walks in nature, the really simple things.
And they fulfill. And that's something that people often forget. They get caught up in the day to day. And actually, I had this vision while you were speaking about um, the performative tasks that we do and how difficult it can be to get out of it. And this vision in my mind, I'm a very visual person, is just this idea that kind of like when the levee breaks and it comes at you, and at first you can kind of navigate it, but over time, because you keep trying to go and perform, you keep trying to do the things, the water increases and you just get washed away. And it's hard to get back up and to move forward, to get out of that. And that's why it's so easy to fall into a depression or to fall into I just don't have time to back up. I just don't have time to figure this out. I don't have time to get to know myself. And it can feel really heavy and overwhelming and frustrating and horribly sad. And so I picture this levee, and I'm thinking, we need to have grace for ourselves, knowing
Yeah,
that we have a lot of things going on. Um, and we need to simultaneously, this is not a but, this is a yes and. We need to simultaneously understand that every small thing you can get out of your way is a step toward a simpler life. And you can celebrate that.
yeah,
This is for your life. And because I believe you are never not marketing, this is for your business as well. If you feel like you're spinning your wheels, if you feel like a hamster and you're doing all the things and you're not seeing the results and you're feeling that tidal wave coming, because it's a lot. You're probably doing more than you need to. And you don't feel like you have a chance to stop, to think, to reassess, to move something out of the way. And I get it. And that's real. You got to throw that life preserver, reverse, obviously, get somebody to help you, even if it's your mom who's not quite perfect for the role. That little thing moves you in the direction that you need to. Take that one thing out of the way. Because burnout's not a cool thing. Not in business, not in life. I've been there, so I have so much empathy for people who are experiencing that. And I just want to make sure that we're being clear to all those who are listening right now that it's all right to feel that way. And nobody's telling you to quick fix it. That doesn't happen. But reach out. And when somebody reaches out to you, even if it's not perfect, take the hand. I'm going to get off my soapbox, though, because I feel very passionate about this, and I know you do too. And you are here to share your story and to share this empowering message and to show how what you do and all that you do can support people along this journey, to help them find that clarity, to help them heal themselves. So I want to give you the opportunity to give people a takeaway. One thing that will help them move one thing out of the way. But before I do that, I'm going to let you think about it, because I know we've talked about a lot and it has been pretty heavy. A lot are really light and fun, but let's be real. And in the meantime, while you're thinking about that, I want to remind everyone here that you're a part of this community. You're a part of this conversation, and we want you to continue to join in. We want to hear what you think, where you're at, how we can support you with further episodes, and with one-on-ones, having conversations, booking calls. To do that, you can do a simple first step on my end. Subscribe, ring the bell, join us, because these conversations happen every single week, and we want you to be a part of it. So with that, I'll get off my soapbox, and I'm going to give you the mic, Sarah. Go ahead and tell the people, what do they need to hear?
Let go of being perfect and start with presence. Your presence is what's needed, not perfection. If you wait for perfection, you'll never, ever move forwards. And know that we all fall down, we all stumble, we all make mistakes. But know that a stumble is a forward movement. So even if you're stumbling, there's something to learn from that. And we learn far more from our mistakes than we ever do from the tops of the mountains that we climb. So don't ever get disheartened. And if you've heard my story of the depths of suicidal depression, know that I had to go through that to change my life, to get to where I am now. And yes, it was awful and I wouldn't wish it on anybody else, but I had to go through that. And it helps me to have empathy for others and understanding of what they're going through. So there's always a lesson and there's always a blessing in everything that happens to us. Just be present and just do your best and just keep showing up.
Wonderful. And people can reach out to you and join you on that journey, this journey, and your journey forward. Tell them a little about that.
Yes, please. If any of this resonates with you and you want a further conversation or get in touch, or even listen to my podcast, Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins, I share everyday people sharing what they were diagnosed with and how they've healed themselves by themselves. And there's some beautiful souls on my podcast. It's available on all the major platforms as well as lots of the Indian minor platforms. And that can all be found on my website, which I believe is through the QR code online, but it's www.sarahdawkins.com.
Perfect. I love that so much. And if you were ever wondering if the books in the back of Sarah here are worth a read, then the poetry that just exited her mouth should tell you that you need to read that, because that was literally poetic. I could have closed my eyes and just listened to it and envisioned what you just created for us, Sarah. Thank you so much. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderfully healing rest of your day and take the next step to say hello, because that's kind of what we're here for. We'll chat soon.